Evelyn was 74 when her husband, the partner she had shared over 50 years with, suddenly passed away. Within just 3 weeks of the funeral, neighbors told her she should sell the house. A nephew urged her to invest her savings in a high-return opportunity. An old friend said, "Evelyn, it is time to start living again. You should let go of his old chair." She did not know what was right or wrong. All she knew was that every morning it felt like half her world had vanished. If you have ever felt or are feeling the same way, this video is for you. Losing a life partner is not just an emotional loss. It opens the door to a storm of mental, financial, and social pressures, all of which strike when you are at your most vulnerable. In the midst of grief, it is easy to say yes to things that sound reasonable but may turn out to be mistakes that bring regret, strain, and hinder your healing more than you realize. In today's video, I will walk you through 5 common but costly mistakes, both emotionally and financially, that many older adults unknowingly make after the loss of a spouse. These are things you have every right to say no to in order to protect your heart and your future. Stay with me until the end of the video, because each part brings an essential reminder to help you move through this painful time with clarity, dignity, and the support you deserve. And if you find this kind of content meaningful, please hit subscribe right now. It is the simplest way to make sure you do not miss future videos filled with practical guidance, empathy, and encouragement, right when you need it most. Now, let us begin. Number 1. Making major financial decisions too soon. After the loss of a life partner, you are not just facing a deep emotional void. You are suddenly responsible for a range of practical financial issues: joint bank accounts, debts, life insurance, investments, wills, and the big question, should you stay in the home you built together or leave it behind? In this state of shock, many people believe that taking immediate action will help them feel a sense of control. But in reality, the grieving process significantly weakens logical decision-making and distorts risk assessment, a fact well documented in psychological research. Grief activates the limbic system, the brain's emotional center, while muting the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for reasoning and judgment. This means you are more likely to make decisions based on short-term feelings rather than long-term thinking. When emotions are in the driver's seat, you may act as a survival reflex, selling the house, relocating, or withdrawing money just to get it over with, without foreseeing the long-term consequences. Take the story of Mr. Johnson, 72, from Boston. Just 3 months after losing his wife to a stroke, he agreed to sell their shared home and move closer to his children. At the time, he felt lonely and thought a change of scenery would help. But a year later, he realized he was not ready to leave the house filled with memories. The new life did not make him happier. Instead, he felt a double loss, not only of his wife, but also of the sense of belonging that came with that home. Selling your home, liquidating assets, or making large investment shifts, these are decisions that are rarely reversible. And sadly, not everyone is able to make sound choices when their heart is still raw with grief. One thing people rarely talk about is that those who have recently lost a spouse become prime targets for financial manipulation. They are more trusting, more vulnerable to pressure, and more likely to say yes to offers that appear well-meaning. From promises of high-yield investments to scam calls, impersonating banks, or even incomplete advice from friends or relatives. If someone is urging you to act immediately, that is a red flag. A study by AARP found that widows and widowers over 60 are twice as likely to be victims of financial fraud compared to their peers who are not living alone. It is not about being uninformed. It is the emotional vulnerability that comes from sudden loss, making people easier to manipulate. Another common mistake is giving away money or assets too quickly, often to children, grandchildren, or charities. The urge to give as a way to do good is often rooted in a feeling of emptiness. But if you act too soon, you may deprive yourself of financial flexibility in the years ahead, especially as health needs or living circumstances evolve. Remember, generosity that is not rushed is the most meaningful kind. You can absolutely plan to give, but do so carefully once you have regained your footing and clearly understand your long-term financial needs. Many financial advisors recommend the 12-month rule for those who have recently lost a spouse. During the first year, avoid all irreversible financial decisions unless absolutely necessary, like paying urgent debts or updating legal documents. This time is for emotional adjustment, exploring your options, and most importantly, finding a trusted advisor. someone not only skilled in finance but also sensitive to the emotional landscape you are navigating. If possible, look for a professional who specializes in working with older adults or clients in grief. They will help you build a plan that reflects your life goals, not just your portfolio. To sum up, after a major loss, slowing down is not a sign of weakness. It is a mark of emotional intelligence. Let time be your ally, not your enemy. In this season of sorrow, calmness, and clarity are the gifts you give your future self. Number 2, isolating yourself from friends and family. After loss, there is a quiet space in the soul that everyone must pass through. It is that time when you do not want to hear the phone ring, do not want to talk, do not want to step outside, you just want to be alone. And that is completely natural. But the problem begins when that quietness stretches on too long, turning into an organized silence where you slowly withdraw from friends, from family, and from the very things that once brought you joy. At first you may think you just need more time. Then, day by day, you find yourself unconsciously avoiding people. Not because you dislike them, but because you are no longer sure what to say or if they will understand. The truth is, science has shown that social connection is not just a nice-to-have after loss. It is an essential part of healing. Studies from Harvard and Johns Hopkins have found that positive human connections reduce stress, boost the immune system, and even help prevent cognitive decline in older adults. When we talk, share, or simply sit beside someone, our bodies release serotonin and oxytocin, the happiness hormones that gently soothe sadness. Let me share a story that might sound familiar. Mr. James, a retired engineer from Michigan, lost his wife after more than 50 years of marriage. For 5 months after the funeral, he barely left his small house. Everything felt hollow. Breakfast was just cold toast. The TV stayed on for background noise. The phone rang, then stopped. When his granddaughter invited him to her school concert, he replied, "Crowds are not really my thing," but that day she did not let go. "I just want you to hear me play piano," she said. So he went. The music did not bring his wife back, but it brought something else, a feeling that he still belonged to this world. A few days later, he started answering the phone again. Then he agreed to walk with an old friend in the park. Slowly, those small steps brought him back to a life he once thought he no longer fit into. That is something you can do too in your own way. Healing does not mean rushing into social events or pretending to be cheerful when you are not ready. Sometimes just replying to a message, nodding when a neighbor invites you for a walk, or joining a small group conversation can be the beginning of a return. What matters is you do not have to carry the pain alone. You do not have to be strong all the time, and you do not owe anyone an explanation. Having someone nearby, even if no words are spoken, can be a form of healing. That is why grief support groups are so powerful, because no one has to pretend to be okay and no one is forced to smile. If you find yourself slowly pulling away, try doing something small to reconnect with the world. Do not let one declined invitation keep you from accepting the next. And if you are the loved one of someone grieving and retreating, please do not give up. Your patience, your quiet, knocking on their door. Those can be the very bridges that bring them back to the light. The pain will not disappear overnight, but you do not have to carry it alone. Life after loss will never be the same, but it can still be soft and kind if you allow others to walk with you through it, if you are still listening. At this point, I would love to know you are there. Leave a comment below. With the words number 2, it is just a small number, but it is a big sign that you are continuing your journey. And if you have found anything I have shared helpful, please subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you will not miss the next videos. Your presence here is what keeps us going, offering support, understanding, and compassion every step of the way. Number 3, neglecting your own health and well-being. When someone loses their life partner, no matter how strong they once were, many begin to let go of themselves. Meals become irregular, sleep turns restless, exercise falls by the wayside, and routine health checkups are pushed off to some other time. It is not because they do not understand. These things are important, but in deep grief, everything that once felt like routine suddenly feels meaningless. Some even feel guilty for taking care of themselves, as if living well would be a betrayal to the one they lost. But try listening to your partner's voice in your heart. If they were still here, would they want you to give up, letting your body and mind slowly fade? In truth, taking care of your health after loss is not just a duty. It is a vital part of the healing process. Neuroscience and psychosomatic medicine have shown that unprocessed emotional pain often manifests physically. Prolonged stress increases cortisol, the stress hormone which leads to elevated blood pressure, disrupted sleep, and weakened immunity. Chronic illnesses like diabetes, arthritis, or heart disease can become harder to manage. And perhaps most dangerously, unaddressed grief creates the perfect condition for latent depression to grow quietly but stubbornly. Take Mr. Walter, 79. He had always been strict about his health routines. But after his wife passed, he began staying up late, eating less, skipping his medical appointments. "I just did not see the point anymore," he said. Then after some persuasion from his daughter, he went for a checkup. The doctor found early signs of malnutrition and unstable blood pressure. That visit was not just a medical reminder, it was a wake-up call. His health still mattered, not for anyone else, but for himself. In times of crisis, returning to the basics is often the most effective way to restore emotional balance. Wake up at a regular time, eat nourishing food, even if it is just a warm bowl of soup or a simple smoothie. Take a walk around the block, breathe deeply, feel the morning sun. These small acts send a message to your brain. I am still here, I am still going. What is important is, do not wait until you feel ready to start caring for yourself. After a loss, the nervous system narrows your perception. What psychologists call emotional narrowing, where everything outside the pain becomes blurry. That is why action must come first. Emotion follows. You step outside, you eat a decent meal, you stretch a little, and gradually your brain begins to reawaken. That is neuroscience, not wishful thinking. And do not forget, mental care is inseparable from physical health. You do not need a formal therapy session to begin. A call with an old friend, an afternoon tea with a neighbor, writing your tangled thoughts in a journal. These are all forms of therapy. If the grief feels overwhelming, seek out a counselor or a support group for the bereaved. Some pain cannot be erased, but it can be shared. And if you are the loved one of someone neglecting themselves after a loss, approach them with patience, not pressure. A home-cooked meal, an invitation to walk together, or just sitting down to look through old photo albums. These small gestures may not erase the sorrow, but they can be the first ray of light in a dark room where your loved one may be quietly trapped. Remember, taking care of your health does not mean forgetting the one you lost. On the contrary, it is a way to dishonor the life you built together. It is how you continue the shared story in a new chapter, where you are still here, still living, still holding the memory in your heart without letting the pain take over the pen. Number 4, rushing into a new relationship. There is something difficult to admit, but deeply true. The loneliness after loss does not just linger quietly, it can at times scream. When the partner who walked beside you for decades suddenly disappears from your life, the house feels bigger, the meals feel longer, and time seems to stand still. In those moments, the longing for someone to talk to, for a hand to hold at night, is not weakness. It is human instinct. But it is precisely from that deeply human need that a different kind of risk emerges, entering a new relationship too soon before the old wounds have healed. In psychology, this is known as emotional substitution, when we try to cover up negative emotions, grief, loneliness, loss with a positive emotional experience, love, companionship. It can bring immediate relief like a painkiller, but it does not truly heal, and often it leads to fragile relationships that break easily, leaving behind yet another layer of hurt. Pauline Boss, a renowned expert on loss and ambiguous grief, notes that when we have not worked through our memories, we carry unrealistic expectations, unconscious comparisons, and even guilt when trying to start anew. Many people enter new relationships hoping to feel whole again, only to find themselves torn, longing for connection, but still aching for the one they lost, and that internal conflict keeps them from fully being in the present or letting go of the past. You might be searching for someone to share your life with, but ask yourself honestly, are you truly seeking love or just trying to escape loneliness? Take the story of Anna, 72. Just a few months after her husband passed away, she entered a relationship with a man she met through friends. At first, it felt like she had been rescued. Someone was there to pick her up, ask about her day, and sit beside her in the quiet, but eventually the emptiness returned, this time more confusing. "I do not know if I loved him," she said in a counseling session, "or if I just loved not being alone." She realized she had never allowed herself to grieve fully, sit in silence, or feel numb without rushing to fill the space. Now she found herself untangling from a new attachment, just to return to where she started. There is another harsh truth here. Rushing into romance can leave you vulnerable to being taken advantage of a sad but common reality. Studies show that people in mourning often experience emotional vulnerability that weakens judgment and increases misplaced trust. Scammers both online and in real life often target this group. Older adults, newly single, lonely, and potentially financially secure. Look out for red flags. Someone who pushes emotional intimacy too quickly, talks about marriage or money within weeks of meeting, or encourages you to cut ties with family because they do not understand you. If you notice any of these signs, pause immediately and talk to someone you trust. True love will never require you to silence your intuition. There is no stopwatch for grief. Everyone heals at their own pace. Some may need years to feel steady again. Others may feel lighter sooner. What matters is not the length of time. It is what you have done with that time. Have you given yourself the space to cry, to remember to mourn? Have you learned to be okay alone? Not forever, but just for now. Can you think of your late partner without sharp pain? If the answer is not yet, then it might be time to focus inward, to heal yourself first, before building something new. Wanting to love again is not wrong. Love does not age, but it must come from a place of readiness, not from emptiness, not from pressure from others, and certainly not to prove you are okay. Remember, the most meaningful relationship is not the one that comes first, but the one that comes at the right time, when both people are grounded, when you can share memories without hiding, when you choose love not out of fear of loneliness, but because you genuinely want to give and receive it again. If you have ever found yourself in this situation or are asking whether you are ready, leave a comment below with the words, "Am I ready?" I would truly love to hear your story and your perspective. Number 5. Holding on to every keepsake and being unable to let go. After a great loss, the home once filled with laughter suddenly becomes a space heavy with silence and memory. The simplest items, a worn sweater, a half-used bottle of perfume, a familiar mug on the shelf, suddenly carry a different weight. No longer just daily objects, they become vivid reminders of a love that has passed, making the idea of letting go feel like an act of betrayal. Keeping a loved one's belongings is a natural response. It can feel like we are maintaining an invisible connection, as if they are still somewhere nearby. But what happens when year after year, you still cannot touch the jacket hanging on the wall, still set the dinner table for two, or still leave the left side of the bed untouched each night? At that point, these keepsakes no longer serve just to honor love. They become barriers that keep you from facing the present. Psychologists refer to this as prolonged attachment to the deceased, a form of complicated grief where the person left behind struggles to adjust to life after the loss. Rather than supporting healing, unprocessed keepsakes can prolong feelings of grief and cause emotional stagnation. Research shows that holding on to all mementos for too long can interfere with a process known as loss integration, a key factor in healthy grieving and eventual recovery. Eileen, 74, illustrates this clearly. After her husband passed, she turned their home into a memory museum. Not a single photo was taken down. His desk remained untouched, as if he had just stepped out. For 6 years, nothing changed until one day her granddaughter asked Grandma, "Why has not Grandpa gone anywhere?" That innocent question jolted her. She realized she was not living in the present, she was dwelling in the past. But letting go does not mean forgetting. On the contrary, it is an act of courage to choose to keep living. It is not about abandoning love, but transforming it. Choosing to keep a few meaningful items, a handwritten letter, a wedding ring, or a favorite shirt, can serve as beautiful symbols of remembrance instead of emotional chains. If you are not ready to part with everything, start with small steps. Choose items that carry less emotional weight and begin organizing those first. One drawer, one box at a time. Each action is a step forward. Some people find comfort in transforming keepsakes, turning an old shirt into a memory quilt, printing a photo book, or passing cherished items down to children or grandchildren, allowing the story of that love to continue through new generations. Most importantly, Do not let yourself be pressured by others. No one outside of you can fully understand your inner feelings. If you are not ready, speak honestly with your family. Tell them you need more time. But also be honest with yourself. Is keeping everything helping you heal or keeping you stuck? The key is recognizing this. You do not have to keep everything to keep the love. Love is not bound to objects. It lives in memory, in the way you continue each day, and in the gratitude you carry for the years you shared. Letting go is not giving up. It is releasing. It is allowing your loved one to rest in peace and yourself to live on with calm and clarity. It is a shift from grief to gratitude, from attachment to growth, and sometimes even a small change in your living space can become the doorway to a whole new chapter in your life. Have you ever experienced this yourself? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could give strength to someone else who is learning to let go, so they too can live again. When you lose your life partner, no one hands you a map to show the way. Every decision, whether big or small, can either help you move forward or keep you anchored in grief. But you are not alone, and you do not have to rush into anything just because someone else says you should. The 5 mistakes we discussed today are not just things to avoid. They are reminders that you deserve a gentler, steadier path to healing. Do not rush major financial decisions. Do not isolate yourself from the world for too long. Do not abandon your health. Do not jump into a new relationship too soon, and do not hold on to everything as if tomorrow will never come. Give yourself time. Choose what brings you peace, and your partner, if they could speak to you now, would probably say, keep living, take care of yourself, and do not let grief steal the rest of your life. So, what resonated most with you today? Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned or one choice you are thinking about making. Your words might not only help you, they could be the encouragement someone else needs right now, someone quietly going through the same thing. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, so you do not miss the next one. Videos created to help older adults live fully, bravely, and with purpose. Thank you for staying with me until the end.